Yeah, we are live.
Hi and welcome to Cyber Talks with Cyber GRC. Today we are diving into a fascinating topic that why is ISO 27001 is the foundation of successful ISO 42001 implementation. With the world embracing AI rapidly, many organizations are realizing that without strong information security, AI governance simplify cannot stand. So let's decode this with our 10 most, asked questions we can say. And to simplify this topic, we have the GRC expert, Mr. Love Johar, sir. So can we begin with our first question?
Yeah, Vidya, please go ahead.
Okay. My first question is why do experts say ISO 27001 is the backbone of ISO 42001?
ISO 27001 is the backbone for 2001 because AI depends heavily on data. Okay, we have seen in the past session about data provenance, data lineage, quality of data. Okay, where the data is being collected, whether the data is secure or not, right? So AI models depend heavily on the data. If the data is not secure, if the data source is not intact, if the data is altered, if the data is not confidential, so AI can't work, right? So that is where we need to have a proper data governance first, data security first, protecting all the assets that are basically storing the information, processing the information. Without that, we can't have a AI governance in place. So definitely ISO for 27001 has to be in place for any organization that is aiming for ISO 42001. You cannot have ISO 42001 without having ISO 27001. It's not possible actually. Without data governance,
Okay.
AI governance is not possible at all. No.
Okay, so they both are actually connected to each other, right?
Yes, because AI works on data, right? And if the data itself is
Yeah.
not secure, if the data itself is not, properly maintained, is not confidential, it's not coming from the right place, you don't know the source of the data, then how will you ensure that the AI itself is, you know, it's not possible.
True. So how do the two standards connect conceptually?
This is a very good question now. Basically, the two standards now basically are working on similar framework. Okay, so you see the clauses of ISO 27001, the clauses of ISO for 2001. Most of the clauses are almost same, right? The objective of the clauses are different. However, the structure of the standard is
Hmm.
entirely same, right? So now the objective is different.
Okay.
When I say the objective is different, there ISO 27001 stands for governing the information security, and ISO 42001 stands for governing the AI lifecycle management and AI governance and AI security. Okay, so that is where ISO 42001 basically extend on top of ISO 27001 only. Okay, so in order to cover AI specific issues, they are basically dependent on each other. That is how they are conceptually related. And basically both of them go through a risk assessment process. First of all, you focus on information security related risk, data related risk, for example, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, right? And then after that, you expand that risk assessment to AI risk. For example, we discussed about fairness, explainability, societal harm to the individual, all those things, right? If you remember, we discussed all those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is how it basically starts. So ISO 27001 talks about data confidentiality, and ISO for 2001 basically ensures data quality is maintained, data should be bias free, okay, and we can use it for properly for the training purposes and all. So this is where basically they are dependent on each other, and one comes on top of that. So ISO 27001 is here, and for 2001 comes here on top of that. That's how it is.
Okay, can you give a practical example for this?
Yeah, very simple. So suppose your organization already has ISO 27001, right? So that means you already have controls for data classification, access management, and incident response. Already these controls are in place, right? So when you move to ISO for 2001, those same controls basically support now the AI data governance model. Okay, they now support how the model is accessed, model access controls. They now support incident related to the AI, how AI incidents are being managed. Okay, so this is how they are now, interrelated in both the cases you saw.
Okay, my next question is Ki, what about risk management? How does ISO 27001 helps here?
Risk management is very important, okay, because ISO 27001 basically introduces a risk based thinking for any organization. Okay, when we implement ISO 27001, if the risk assessment is not properly done, if the risk assessment is not properly carried out, the entire implementation fails. So what is risk based thinking now? Let us try to understand. Identifying the risk, analyzing the risk, and treating the risk systematically. And we have four treatment options. Okay, avoidance, mitigation,
Hmm.
acceptance, and transference. These are the four mitigation options that we have. So now this whole risk-based thinking itself is being introduced by ISO 27001 in any organization. But once you have this risk-based thinking, once you have this approach, then you can now build on top of this risk-based thinking risk related to AI. Okay, AI specific risk. Now, what are the AI specific risks? Like we discussed with you, not having proper fairness, not having proper transparency, not having proper accountability of the AI that we have, not having proper source of the data, not having proper consent from people for the data. All these are now risks related to AI, right? So the mindset and the process of risk management remain the same. Only the scope now widens to AI management and AI governance also. That is the change.
Okay. But how does an existing AIMS simplify IS, what's that? ISMS implementation?
I think you missed it. ISMS simplifies the IMS, right?
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, like I mentioned, so ISMS, once you have ISMS, you already have idea about the governance structure, right? You know how to create the policies, how to have the risk management approach in place, how to implement the control, everything you're already familiar with, right? So that is
Hmm.
where it basically eases out. Okay, you already have policies, you already have RACI metrics, roles and responsibility established. You already know what is internal audit, management review, continual improvement mechanisms. All these you are already familiar with. Okay, so now in this case of AI MS implementation, only the scope changes. The scope now widens. You basically have to map additional AI controls, additional AI related risk, additional AI related roles and responsibility. For example, if you remember, we discussed three type of AI roles, right? One is the
Yeah,
developer, who is the creator of the AI. Then one is the provider that is using
provider.
the developer to actually cater to their business. Then the third one is the consumer. So all these three things basically come into play. Remaining everything remains the same.
Okay. How do ISO 27001 control overlap with ISO 42001 control?
Yeah, like I mentioned about incident management, access management, right? All those controls which are already there in ISO 27001. Now the scope changes. That's the only difference. Controls are the same. Okay, now you are
Okay.
controlling AI related incidents. Now you are controlling access to AI data, training data, okay, model related data. All those things are now changing. The basics is the same. Okay, for example, information security policy now will have additional AI policy also. Okay, you can either
Okay.
club them or make them separate, but these are the commonalities, right? Asset register now has AI assets also, right? So this is all
Mhm.
the overlaps which you see actually, Vidya. The main thing is still the same.
Okay, so what we hear about Annex A.5 and Annex A.8, that is clause, I think, right?
Yeah, that is clauses. All annex are clauses. Yes, yes.
Okay. What about the data, a key ingredient for AI?
Data is where ISO 27001 comes from. Okay, because
Mhm.
ISO 27001 ensures all the information processing assets, all the information storing asset, any asset that is processing information, storing information has to be protected. That is the aim of ISO 27001. Data confidentiality has to be maintained, data integrity has to be maintained. All these are objectives of ISO 27001 in any organization, right? So that is where data plays a key ingredient for AI, okay? Because ISO 27001 will establish integrity, confidentiality, and availability of data. And ISO 42001 now goes further by ensuring data quality also, data provenance also, data lineage also, and all these things. Data is coming from an ethical source or not. So
Mhm.
basically, a data governance foundation is built by ISO 27001. However, it is supported by ISO 42001. Okay, from a data management perspective.
Are the organizational benefits in combining both the standards?
Absolutely. If an organization is thinking about starting ISO for 2001, they should definitely start integrating these two standards. Okay, and they can create a unified, integrated approach towards these two. Okay, because it will basically reduce any duplication of effort, and it will basically promote the implementation. It will be the implementation will be more faster, and you don't have to do the same thing again and again. There is no duplication of effort, I would say. So yes, it's a very good approach to have that.
Can you please suggest that what kind of organizations benefit the most of these from these integrations?
Yes, that's a very good question. So if I am creating the AI, okay, if I am the producer of the AI, then I am the organization that will be benefiting most of it. Or if I am deploying the AI, I am using the AI from an organization and using it to develop my own AI and deploying it further. Both of these type of organization, whether they are basically developing the AI or deploying the AI, and especially in high risk sectors. Now, what are high risk sectors? Let us try to understand. Okay, people talk about high risk all the time, but nobody understand what is a high risk sector. So let me now today tell you what are the high risk sectors. So sectors like finance, sectors like healthcare, sectors like government sectors, these are called high risk sectors. Okay, and
Okay.
these sectors handle sensitive data, that is why they are called as high risk sectors. Okay, and critical information are there in these particular sectors, that is why they are called as high risk sectors. So basically, for these organizations who are involved in the high risk sectors, okay, having both the certifications and both the implementations basically give them a very mature approach, and I would say a very easy entry in the competitive AI marketplace which we are in today.
Okay. At the end of this podcast, what will you suggest the organization that are starting their journey?
So I would say start with ISO 27001. You need to start developing your data security first, data governance first. Once you have proper data governance, once you have governance around the information that you have, governance around the information assets that you have, once you have proper risk based approach, once you know the entire framework of how a standard gets implemented, only then you move towards ISO for 2001. Because if your data is not secure, if your data is not confidential, if you do not have a proper risk management approach in place, moving towards ISO for 2001 will not make a lot of sense actually, because the baseline foundation, which is data, is basically not taken care of properly from an information security perspective. So that is where I think start with 27001. Once you are completely familiar with the standard, once you know how to implement the standard, and once you have implemented the standard properly, then you think about ISO for 2001. And definitely, if somebody is watching this right now, if you want any suggestion, any help, any consultation, in order to how to implement ISO 27001, or how to implement both of these standards together. For example, ISO 27001 and ISO 42001 together, then definitely get in touch with us, because Cyber GRC is there. We are already handling some projects related to ISO 27001, SOC 2, and ISO 42001. So we are here to support you, right? So we can definitely be in touch. Some other things,
How they can
Vidya,
connect with you?
yeah, they can DM us directly. The number is there, or they can message us, comment us on this particular podcast. Many channels are there, right? So few things I wanted to show right now before we end the podcast,
Mm.
Vidya. Basically, these are few of the important things to consider for anybody who is watching this webinar. Basically, some important things to consider from a data security perspective. Like we discussed, ISO 27001 secures the data, and ISO for 2001 governs the data. Okay. PDCA cycle is there. Both of them follow the PDCA cycle, plan to check act cycle, for continuous improvement. Okay. Information
Okay.
security is the backbone of responsible AI. We already saw that, right? Data integrity and AI. Data integrity from ISO 27001 powers the ethical AI outcome, because if your data integrity is not there, you cannot have a ethical AI. Very simple. Okay. Then
Mm.
existing ISMS documentation, if you already have, like I mentioned, it will definitely accelerate the AIMS rollout in the organization. Okay. Strong ISMS definitely is equal to strong AIMS foundation. Okay. There is no doubt about it.
Yeah.
ISO 27001 builds trust. ISO 42001 extends to the AI. Okay. ISO 27001 controls evolve into AI specific governance under for 2001. Okay. And like we saw, access management controls, incident management controls, all these controls basically evolve into the AI specific governance. Okay. Risk management linkage, we also saw. Risk management links both the standard actually follow the same risk based approach. You start with the risk related to the data, risk related to the organization, and then you move on to the risk related to the AI model, risk related to AI data related risks. All those risks are there, right? From a AI perspective, risk related to transparency, fairness, accountability, having a responsible AI. All those risks are there, right? Then you have secure then governed, which is secure first, then you think about governing the AI
Okay.
smartly. Okay. Because if you are not securing the data first, if you're not securing the main thing, which is the data, then you won't be having AI governance properly.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. That was an insightful discussion. And I would like to tell our audience that this podcast we conduct daily. So if you want to learn more about it, you can obviously join this podcast every day. But still, you want to like join the batch and learn advance, so you can join the batches also. And that was an insightful discussion about ISO 27001. That it isn't just a compliance badge, it's about a bedrock of every responsible AI journey under ISO 42001. And if you are ready to build trust in your AI system, start by securing your data and process first. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vidya.